Yo, yo, how are you guys doing? I'm doing good. And welcome to episode 9 of the Notebook podcast. I am back a little bit longer than I expected, but I'm back. I've been pretty busy and going to be pretty busy for the next about week and a half. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get an episode by the end of this week. And I am not sure if I'll be able to get an episode in next week. So yeah, but I'm here now, and we're gonna talk about what's happened prior to this episode. There's been a lot: NBA playoffs, a little bit of MLB, and the biggest fight of in boxing so far this year, and maybe for the rest of the year. Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis. But yeah, let's start right into the NBA playoffs, man. That's the biggest topic we have here, and a lot has happened. The Warriors have evened up this series against the Sacramento Kings. The Lakers are looking to run away with the Grizzlies series. The Knicks are looking to advance and either play the Bucks or the Heat. And speaking of the Heat, they are up 3-1 on Milwaukee right now. And as of right now, it is April 25th. So the last Heat and Bucks game was yesterday. And Jimmy Butler might have had one of the best playoff performances I have seen in a long time, maybe since Donovan Mitchell's performance in the playoffs a couple years ago. But yeah, he put the team on his back, literally. Literally. No one else, in terms of their performance, was even close to up to par with the performance Jimmy Butler put on yesterday. And they did it even with Giannis having a great game. And the thing about the Bucks, man, they looked horrible with Giannis off the floor. And even with Giannis on the floor, they weren't that good. You know what I mean? Jimmy Butler was just having his way left and right, and they had absolutely no answer for him. And they look at a 3-1 deficit right now. And I'm going to be quite honest, it's possible for them to come back from 3-1, but, you know, it's obviously really tough. And losing that game in that fashion in a must-win game is absolutely embarrassing, and the Bucks should be absolutely embarrassed with the performance they put on yesterday. And in terms of Jimmy Butler, I mean, I think this is the performance that he needed, you know, that the team needed in general, because they barely made the playoffs, as they were the eighth seed in the play-in. So you know they're playing the one seed or the two seed, one seed, two seed in the East. So yeah, they're playing the one seed in the East, and now they're up 3-1 on them, and they could potentially even move on to the conference finals, playing either the Knicks or Cavs. So the Heat are in a pretty good situation right now, in a pretty good scenario where they can see themselves back in the conference finals. You know what I mean? So I really think, as a Heat fan, you're really excited for what is to come if they were able to finish off this series. I don't want to look too far ahead, but as of right now, they're in a really good spot. And the team they would potentially play, the Knicks or the Cavs, it's looking like it's going to be the Knicks, and that's a winnable series for both teams. You know, the Knicks are one of the most shocking teams this year in terms of how they're getting games done. You know, they're winning games from a different spot every time. You know, Josh Hart is doing his job. RJ Barrett is finally coming through in the playoffs, and they're doing all this without Julius Randle having a great series at all. Like, he's not playing well at all, and they're somehow winning these games. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different person coming through each game. So yeah, I don't know if they're able to win against the Heat with Julius Randle playing like he has, especially with Bam Adebayo um guarding him. So we'll see how that works out. Speaking of Bam Adebayo, we might have to have a Bam Adebayo conversation. I'm gonna let it slide for this series. You know, it's a tough series. You're going against Brook Lopez, could have been Defensive Player of the Year, in some cases, but I'm gonna give him the pass this series. But if he struggles the next series, we're gonna have to have a Bam Adebayo conversation because yeah, it's not looking good for the Bam Adebayo stock right now and the Bam Adebayo fan base on Twitter. So it's not looking good. But as of right now, I'm gonna give him a pass. I'm gonna give him a pass, and we'll see how he plays next series. If they move on, let's put that out there. But yeah, another 3-1 in the East is the Celtics Hawks. And I don't think the Hawks get it done. I don't think the Hawks are going to get it done. DeJounte Murray is suspended for the next game after bumping and it looked like cursing at a ref. That was a really weird situation right there. I don't know what he was doing at all. But yeah, he like chest bumped a ref for I don't know what reason. But yeah, he did that. And he got himself suspended for the next game in a must-win game as they're down 3-1. So yeah, not looking good for those boys. And I think the Celtics and Sixers are gonna see themselves in the semifinals. And the Sixers are not in a good spot right now as Joel Embiid has a knee injury. They're considering it a knee sprain, I believe, which is tough to deal with. You see Kawhi Leonard has a knee sprain and hasn't played in, 2 straight games, and I don't think he's playing tonight either. So, yeah, knee sprains are nothing to mess with. So, yeah, not good. And I'm pretty sure they said Joel Embiid will play in the second round. And if he does, it's going to be he's going to have to wear a brace on that knee. But yeah, hopefully he's able to play the entire series. Hopefully he is healthy enough to look like Joel Embiid and not just being out there on the floor, actually producing at a level that is comparable for the team. But yeah, knee sprain is tough to deal with, and that is what he has right now. But yeah, it was a really great slate of games yesterday. I believe there was only 2 games. The Grizzlies, Lakers, and Bucks, Heat, and both the Lakers and the Heat were able to come out on top against the higher seeds, and it's looking like the lower and air quotes on it inferior seeds will be moving on. So, yeah, quite interesting. Let's get right into that game, and that game is a contender for game of the playoffs so far. You had the Grizzlies starting off really poorly. And in that second quarter, they got fire. I think they scored. I forgot how many runs, but the Lakers didn't score in a whole period of time, and it was like a 2-point game going into halftime, and it was just close the entire way. A really back and forth game. Ja looked really nice. Desmond Bane had a great game. Dylan Brooks played like shit offensively, as usual. As he's done this entire series, he's played terrible offensively. It's like actually laughable the way he's playing offensively, but defensively he did a pretty good job until the end where he got absolutely little boyed by LeBron. That's really embarrassing for him when he talked crazy about LeBron, saying that it wasn't really too much of a challenge guarding LeBron. He just got absolutely bullied for an and one. But yeah, I mean, LeBron at year 20 is still putting up insane performances in the playoffs like it's nothing. He had 20 points, 20 rebounds, and he looked really dominant even without just scoring the basketball. And there were some stretches in the game where he was just standing around, and I saw in multiple possessions where LeBron just didn't even touch the ball, but it ended up working out. You know what I mean? It was a really, really shocking game for the Lakers because it showed that LeBron doesn't have to be the primary scorer and the primary ball handler for them to score on possessions, And AD didn't have a great game until the end. AD came through when it mattered, but you know, um, Anthony Davis looked pretty rough in that game offensively. Defensively, you know what you're going to get from AD. He's going to block shots, get boards, and stuff like that. Austin Reeves had a pretty good, decent game as well. D'Angelo Russell, I think, hit 3 threes in a row. That was pretty big stretch for them. But yeah, it was a really good team win, I would say, for the Lakers. Dennis Schroeder is absolutely horrific handling the ball. There was some really key turnovers that he had that really gave the Grizzlies a shot, but they just didn't capitalize enough for them to win. And I think D'Lo fouling out was really, really detrimental for the Lakers because Dennis Schroeder had to run the point, and it did not work out well. But at the end of the day, they did win the game. Vanderbilt offensively has not looked great. I'm gonna be honest; it has not looked great. I would definitely play Rui Hachimura more minutes. Give Rui Hachimura more minutes to him, and that's what Darwin Ham did. And I like that he saw because Vanderbilt is higher on the depth chart in terms of minutes wise, but Rui Hachimura has been giving them great production this entire series, and I like how Darwin Ham just stuck with the guys who were playing well. He rode the hot hands the entire game, and it worked out, especially in overtime. And yeah, I really like. I think Darwin Ham had a better coaching game than what he's shown over the course of the season, and I really like how he's playing the matchups and playing um, the roles right now. But in terms of the Grizzlies, Ja had a great game. He had a really scary play where I thought he was going to be injured again when LeBron took that charge on him, and I don't know what he was doing. He looked like he tried to jump over LeBron, but yeah, that was really scary. It looked like he injured that hand again on a fall, but he ended up staying in the game and looked fine. Desmond Bain literally put the offense on his back most of the time. He had a really great game. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a beast defensively. He really carried the load down low against AD, and he's done really well against AD the entire series. I'll give him his credit, and he definitely did deserve Defensive Player of the Year, but he's definitely proving why he did earn that award in this series here. I really am been impressed with his play. But the Grizzlies are really tough defensively. They've done really well on LeBron, I would say. They have so many defenders that are switchable, and I could see why they are one of the most efficient defenses in the league because of how efficient they are switching. They are able to switch so easily and guard the wing, guard the point, and guard the bigs. Xavier Tillman, for example, is a really great switchable defender. And you see him switch on LeBron and then go back to AD and play great defense against AD and LeBron. I really like what he did, and it really helped, especially down the stretch. Even though their offense couldn't capitalize a good amount of the time, they really got some really key stops. And David Roddy is really nice as well. I think he's a pretty decent player. I really wanted Tyus Jones to get more minutes. I really think he is a really good key piece and a reason why they won game 2. But yeah, it didn't happen, and unfortunately, the Grizzlies are down 3-1, and I don't see them coming back. I'm gonna be honest. I don't see them coming back from a 3-1 deficit. They really did need to steal one on the road, and they didn't last night. And that's really detrimental to them as they're down 3-1, even though they are going back home. And I do think they win the next game, even if they get a little bit of production from Dylan Brooks. They win last night's game. Offensively, I mean. More production offensively because he missed like a good 5 threes that were open. Like 5 open threes from Dylan Brooks have been like missed. And if he just hits one of them, they win. And if they play better defense on LeBron in that game tying situation, then they win. And unfortunately, they just couldn't get it done. And they're looking like they're going to be down 3-1 for the rest. They're going to be down 3-1 and could be looking at watching from the couch for the rest of the playoffs, which is unfortunate for them. But another series and a team that the Lakers could be playing in the next round, the Kings or the Warriors, which game is tomorrow, April 26th, Wednesday. And that series is all evened up, man. That series is all evened up. And the Warriors really have surprised me. They were down 2-0, but they showed absolutely no loss of confidence, and they came through. With Draymond being suspended after the stomp, they really did come through. And I thought they would have a lot of trouble with Draymond not being on the floor defensively, and they didn't at all. Kevon Looney is a beast, man. Kevon Looney is one of the most underrated bigs in the league in terms of his role, man. He plays a role for that Warriors team, and he plays it really well. He grabs rebounds, plays nice defense, and is able to pass at a high level. And that's really underrated in this league for being a big that can pretty much uh, not be a standstill on offense. He can really set up plays for Curry. He sets great screens, and he's one of the best offensive rebounds I've seen in this league. And he just creates so much for the Warriors team, like gives them so much flexibility. And he really has played great defense on Sabonis, and he's a statue down there. He is a hard to move, and Sabonis, he does flare out those elbows, and Looney really does a good job of standing his ground and making a great play. So yeah, I really am impressed with his play, and he really showed up when he needed to with Draymond being out. And I thought they would have some trouble with Draymond being out, but they didn't at all. And those two were the wins that the Warriors needed, winning at home, and now they need to win on the road. And that's been the biggest problem with the Warriors all year is their play on the road, and it's really going to show. It's really going to show. Their back was against the wall in game 4, and they came through. Let's see how they play with an even series. The series is now 0-0, and it's best of 2. And let's see what the Warriors do. They have Draymond back. They have Draymond back 100% on the road now. And, it's going to be loud. It's going to be ecstatic. They're going to boo Draymond every time he touches the ball like the Warriors did with Sabonis. So let's see if they're able to come through in a hostile environment and do something they haven't been able to do all year, and that is win consistently on the road because they need to win 2. And I think they need to win 2 in a row. I think they need to finish this series off because if they lose a game, if they lose next game, I don't know if they come through like they did in game 4. But yeah, this series, I said it was going to be the best in the first round, and it's definitely proved to be the best in the first round, as it's probably I think it's the only series right now that is like relatively close. And next series we're going to talk about is Suns Clippers. Man, what an absolute shit show of an ending this series has. It really was one of the most interesting going into the playoffs, as you had Kawhi going against the Suns with no Paul George, and now you have no Kawhi or Paul George, and your best player is Russell Westbrook, who has played great. Russell Westbrook has played really well since Kawhi's been out, but he's not enough to beat the Suns. There's so much firepower on that team that it's damn near impossible to come back 3-1 against them. And at some point, we need to have a conversation about Kawhi, because I think the load management has proven to be a problem. Because the playoffs are a different breed, man. You're playing 40 plus minutes a game. And if you're not accustomed to that, because Kawhi doesn't play consistently, he doesn't play back to back. So Kawhi hasn't really had enough run to consistently play 40 minutes each game. And I think load management does more bad than good, in my opinion, because you're not in a routine. You're not in a routine. You're not in a playoff routine of playing high level minutes, high intensity minutes in a short period of time. And it's caused multiple injuries to Kawhi, and this one has really hurt the Clippers. And is this the last time we see the Clippers with Kawhi and Paul George together? Who knows? I don't think so. I think they run it back one more year, but it's really been unfortunate the way that the Clippers have performed. And you really thought this team would be a dynasty going forward. And you thought they'd have a championship by now when they first made the move. When Kawhi left Toronto, you really thought, oh, this is a championship contender. And they haven't even really come close, which is really unfortunate for them, really unfortunate for Kawhi, and really unfortunate for Paul George. And it's interesting what they do going forward, but it really sucks for Clippers fans, and it sucks for the Clippers organization that they haven't even come close to a championship since acquiring both Paul George and Kawhi together. And the Suns are going to move on to either play the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. And speaking of that series, the Timberwolves stole a big game from the Nuggets last game in Game 4, and now their confidence is at an all-time high. You saw um, Anthony Edwards saying this is going to be the first 3-0 comeback in NBA history, and he really came through in that last game, hit a big shot, the dagger in that game, and his confidence at an all-time high after having a really poor performance in the play-in. But now he's looking like Anthony Edwards, like he's putting the ball in the basket, and that's his thing. That's his bread and butter is scoring, and he's scoring at a high clip, and led them to a win. And I personally don't think they do come back 3-0 and win the series, but hey, their confidence is at an all-time high. They believe that they can do it, and it's, I mean, who am I to say they can't? If they believe they can do it, maybe they can do it. But me personally, I don't think they can. But hey, what do I know? But yeah, I think the Nuggets move on and they play the Suns, and that's going to be a really interesting series. I really think the Western Conference is up for grabs. It's anyone's. And I think both of them, to be honest. I mean, obviously, you have the Celtics that are the clear favorite in the East over any of the teams that could move on. I think the Celtics are just light years better than any other team in the East right now, and it will take a lot for them to be beaten in the East. But in terms of the West, the Lakers are hot. The Warriors are the reigning champions. The Kings are one of the most underrated teams going into the season, and now they are giving the Warriors a run for their money. You have the Suns, who are probably the most talented in terms of their starting five in any over any team in the league, and then you have the Nuggets and the Timberwolves that are, the Nuggets are a clear better team than the Timberwolves, but you never know. It depends. It all comes down to Jamal Murray, in my opinion. I think he is the key to the Nuggets having a deep run because he's been really inconsistent. He had that really great 40 game. That was really nice to watch. I love Jamal Murray. He's a great player, and I think he's really fun to watch. But he's been really inconsistent in this playoffs in terms of being that star level player and that playoff type player that we saw in the bubble. Seeing that at a consistent basis. So I really think he is the key to that Nuggets team and really is the key for them to having a good run. And I think for the Nuggets, it's finals. NBA finals are bust, to be honest. Being the one seed and being a dominant one seed like they were, it's either NBA finals. I don't say you have to win, but I think the season would be a disappointment if they don't make the finals. And as of right now, it's not looking like they are the favorites to win the West, but anything's possible, like I said. And it's really interesting to see how the West unfolds and who makes the finals in the West. But yeah, in the East, I think it's the Celtics. But you never know. The Sixers could see themselves beating the Celtics and then go on and beating the Heat or the Knicks. Who knows? The East, I think there is a clear-cut favorite. But for the West, I don't think you can 100% say right now, oh yeah, this team's going to the finals. I don't know. It would just be a guess at this point. I don't think you can really make too much of an educated decision like, oh yeah, this team, because of this, this, and this, they're going to make the finals. And you can, but I don't think it's going to be 100% right. In the East, I think you can with the Celtics. But yeah, that's pretty much a recap of what's gone on so far. We have some games going on tonight. We have what, 3 series clinchers. We have the Celtics who can clinch, the Nuggets who can clinch, and the Suns who can clinch. And all 3 of those teams are going to be at home in their clinching scenario, so they already have the advantage. Let's see if they get it done. But yeah, our next topic we're going to talk about is the fight of the weekend, Tank versus Ryan. I talked about it earlier. I talked about the flaws in each of the fighters and what they need to do to win. And what I said was Ryan's chance of winning the fight was making it a boring fight, using his length as the bigger fighter and making it a boring fight and not giving Tank them angles to counter him. And that is exactly what happened in the fight. In the first round, I believe Ryan won the fight or won the first round. He definitely did. Tank in the first round, does what Tank always does, takes those pictures and scouts his opponent, seeing what they're going to do. And Ryan was throwing that jab out. He was throwing that jab out, using his length, getting on the inside a little bit, and he was willing on him a little bit, but it was more precise. And let me throw my jab out. Oh, he's not throwing back. Let me counter him. Let me hit him over the top a little bit. I thought Ryan should have went to the body more over the course of the fight, which he didn't really do too much. It was just more head hunting, and that is not how you're going to break down Tank at all. That is not how you're going to break down Tank at all, and it proved not to work. And in the second round is when Tank started to get a little bit more aggressive and started to counter Ryan. He understood what Ryan was going to do, and he countered it. And it looked like in that second round, towards the middle, Ryan thought he had Tank hurt because he caught Tank over the top, and Tank backed up, and then Ryan starts throwing that hook. Tank slipped it and popped him right on the chin. And Ryan fell down, got knocked down. He got up. He looked fine. He came back, finished the round. But the game plan that Ryan had in the first round just went completely out the window. I don't know what he was doing because it worked in the first round. Why would you go away from it? He got a little complacent. I don't know if he thought he was confident enough to win a slugfest against Tank Davis, but I don't know. He wanted to prove something to Tank, that my power is here. But yeah, he caught Tank once. He got a little excited, threw a couple more punches, and got clocked. And the biggest attribute to Ryan, I would say, the best thing that Ryan has is his left hook. And Tank neutralized that. He slipped it multiple times. Even when he got popped with it, it didn't look like it fazed him at all. He got hit once, and I'm pretty sure I watched the fight twice. I watched it once live, and I've downloaded it and watched it the second time. And Tank got popped with it and shook his head no. Like it didn't faze him at all. And that's when I knew this fight was over. Once I saw Tank get hit with it, a clean shot. Tank didn't slip it at all. Clean shot right to the chin. Tank just shrugged it off and shook his head no. And that's when I knew that shit was over, man. Because that is Ryan's best attribute, is his left hook, because it's so fast, you don't even see it, and Tank slipped it multiple times throughout the fight. That is insane. And I think one of the most underrated parts of Tank's game, we always hear about his power, his IQ, but his defense is there, man. His defense is there. Tank is such a complete fighter, it's crazy. He has speed. He has the power. One of the most powerful pound for pound hitters in boxing. And he has defense, man. He has defense. That's something he's worked on since he's been a pro, is his defense. And it's really underrated. I think it doesn't get talked about enough, is his defense. And it really showed against Ryan. He looked in a tier of his own, as people really thought Ryan was up there stride for stride with Tank, and he literally proved it Saturday night that that's not the case. He's so much better, and I think he now needs to contend for the belts, because this is a statement win. And quote for quote, this is the best fighter. This is the most talented fighter Tank has fought. But I think the best fight Tank's had, and the closest fight Tank's had, is against Isaac Cruz. And I would not be opposed to a rematch against Isaac Cruz, because, that was the one time where I thought Tank was like, damn, I really cannot overpower this guy. And he's understanding what type of fighter I am. He had a game plan going into the fight. Isaac is a great defender, and he hits pretty hard. And that was like the only time in Tank's career where I would say that he was actually, I would say, like an even matchup, where what Tank was doing wasn't really phasing Isaac. And Tank did win, obviously, as he's never lost. But it was a close fight. It was a really good fight. And yeah. But in terms of Ryan, I think Ryan's got to move up. And I'm pretty sure he said he's going to 140. So I think that is the right move, because 135 is just not for him. I think in my opinion, I think he struggled to make weight at 135. And the rehydration clause, he said, had a big problem with him. He said his legs weren't under him. So yeah, I think it's just best for him to go up to 130, to move away from 135 and go up to 140. I don't know who he would fight. He could fight anyone really up there. So it just depends on who he wants to fight. But yeah, 135 is not for him. And yeah, Tank gets the dub. Tank mentioned, or he got asked about Devin Haney. I don't think he does fight Devin Haney. I think he either fights like, I would be interested in Frank Martin. Frank Martin versus Tank. That's a really interesting fight. I know Frank wants that fight. He said it multiple times that he is one of the best fighters in the lightweight division. Wants to prove that. What better to prove that against Tank Davis? Fight Tank Davis, and once you beat Tank Davis, you can compete for the belts. So yeah, but I think Tank could fight, Frank Martin. He could fight Shakur Stevenson. That would be, I would think, to be a better fight than Ryan Garcia because of how great of a matchup that would be. You have two of the smartest fighters in boxing going at it. So that's a true chess match right there. But yeah, Tank can do a lot right now because he's fought one of the best fighters in that division already, and he beat him by a wide margin. I don't think the fight was even close. I don't know what that first judge was thinking that second round was a tie 10-10 with Tank and Ryan. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know what fight he was watching, but we'll let it slide as Tank does KO Ryan. And I didn't even talk about the knockout. I haven't even talked about the knockout yet. I've seen people on Twitter act like an absolute idiot and say like, oh my God, that punch wasn't even that hard. I don't know how Ryan fell down. Those are the people who's never fought in boxing ever. I've taken a body shot before, and them shits hurt. I've never been dropped, but I've taken a body shot before, them bitches hurt. I've never taken a liver shot before, and I don't want to take one. But you could see after that punch, it buckled Ryan, and as he started to move back, he's like, yeah, I got to take a knee. I can't breathe. I need to take a knee. And he knew not to get up because if he got up, Tank was going to tear him up. Yeah, he made a really good business decision because he was about to get clipped by Tank. But yeah, overall, I'm really impressed with the fight. It was a good fight, It went in the fashion that I knew. I knew Tank was going to get a knocked out. He got a knockdown and technically a knockout with the body punch there. And yeah, Tank has really proven himself, And the biggest question after the fight is if Tank is the face of boxing. And in terms of the U.S., yes, Tank is the face of boxing in terms of the U.S. fighting culture. But on the U.K., it's definitely Anthony Joshua for them. That is their guy. They love Anthony Joshua down there. Either Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. But in terms of U.S. boxing, yes, Tank Davis is the face of boxing. And, you have your Canelo. Canelo is one of the most well-known fighters ever. But as of right now, you have a young star who is a knockout machine, and people call the young Tyson, and yeah, he's the face of boxing right now. I don't think there's too much of an argument there for that. He beat one of the most popular fighters in the world in Ryan Garcia in a knockout fashion. And yeah, I think Tank is the face of boxing in the US, and in the UK, it's Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury. But yeah, in the US, it's Tank Davis, and I don't think there's too much of an argument for that. But yeah, boxing's in a really great place right now. And that was probably fight of the year, unless Bud Crawford and EJ fight, which I hope happens. EJ's my guy. I love EJ. Really nice guy, really dope guy. But yeah, that was fight of the year as of right now. And it sucks to see Ryan go out like that. I've met Ryan, really nice guy. Got a picture with him, super dope guy. Both of them. Tank, I've met two, really nice guy. Both of them are really nice guys, and it looks like they're boys after the fact. But yeah, it really sucks to see Ryan go out like that. And I don't think Ryan deserves all the hate that he gets. I mean, a lot of the hate comes from early on in his fighting career when he would go to Twitter and talk a lot of shit and all that. But in terms of being a genuine, nice guy, Ryan is definitely that. And I've experienced it firsthand. Really nice dude. Yeah, really dope guy, and we'll see what he does going forward. But you know, I can't hate on Ryan. You know, he fought he is the reason this fight happened, and I give him his props. You know, he's not scared of fighting one of the best fighters in the world. You know, and he believed he could have won that fight, and you know, it didn't happen. Tank was the better man that night, and you just take your losses with your wins, you know, and that's what he did. He didn't make any excuses. He didn't say the hydration clause was the reason why he lost. He literally said Tank was the better fighter and won that fight fair and square. And I tip my hat to Ryan for that. And yeah, super nice guy, really genuine guy. And yeah, I hope he bounces back in the best way possible. And you never know. Maybe we see the fight later down the line because people forget Ryan's only 24 years old. Ryan is a super young fighter, and he's only getting better. He needs to work on his technical game. His footwork is not 100% there. He drops his hands so much. He drops his hands, and it caught him in the second round. He dropped his hands and got popped over the top. And yeah, he needs to work on his technical game, and he needs to work on his boxing IQ because that is the reason. In terms of the fight against Tank, that is the reason why he lost. Is his boxing IQ just wasn't up to par with Tank. And Tank is one of the smartest fighters in boxing and one of the best pound for pound fighters in boxing, but you just have to be better. You can't go out and just start going to a slugfest against one of the most powerful fighters and one of the most smartest fighters in boxing. So yeah, Ryan has a lot to work on, but yeah, he's only 24. He's only going to get better. But yeah, congrats to Tank on getting his win. And Tank's already fought twice this year, so I don't know if we get another Tank fight this year. And if it happens, then it's going to be at the end of the year. But yeah, there's so much Tank can do with his options. Like I said, Frank Martin, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, who knows? But yeah, I think it's time for Tank to go after the belts, man. It's time for Tank to go after the belts. It's been long enough. It's time to go after the belts. And he needs to campaign for himself and say, yes, I want the Devin Haney fight, because he's never 100% gone out and said, that's the fight that I want, like Ryan did with Tank. And I think that's Tank's next move, is going after the belts and getting those belts, because he's already talented enough to win. It's now time for him to do it. But yeah, that's it for all I have for this episode, man. It's good to be back. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to be back this week. I'm really busy with school, final exams, but this summer here, I should be back a lot, and I should be ready to be consistent a lot more since I'll have a lot of free time. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be back this week or next week, but the week after that, for sure, confirmed, I will be back to talk NBA playoffs, MLB, and whatever we have going forward. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe to the channel. Comment if you would like. Show your love. Yeah, like and subscribe, and I'm out.